Happy 4th of July to all of you out there. We have a big 4th of July sale right now over at DRF, shop.drf.com. Past performances, clocker reports, all of your favorite DRF products. You can save 15% when you're using that promo code July424. Don't forget about that promo code. I'll have a direct link posted with this if you're watching on Twitter, and if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to click right on that link in the description. It'll take you right to the sale there. So lots of racing coming up in the next few days, and I took a look at a good amount of it. We're going to have previews of the Belmont races 6 through 9 sequence on Thursday, July the 4th. We'll look at that right here, and they'll all be individual videos that you can take a look at on my YouTube channel, or if you want to come to the podcast, That's What G Said, I'll have them all in order for you if you want to check them out there all on audio form. So for this video, we'll jump on into Belmont Park for July the 4th, taking a look at races 6 through 9. This was just the late pick 4 sequence is just the best races sequence. I always recommend if you're playing to look into the lower takeout sequences, which most tracks are generally the pick 5 sequences. But as far as Thursday, let's jump into race number 6. I thought both the 6th and the 7th races had something in common in that I wasn't sure how much early speed they would have in the races. And I think if you're playing multi-exotics, you probably want to use a couple of the horses that you think will be forwardly placed. To me, in this 6th race, I feel like Boats a Rockin' has a big shot to go gate to wire like we just saw him do on June the 7th most recently. 2 starts back on May the 18th. That was in the turf sprint at Pimlico. That was behind a horse named Grooms All Business, who's just in really nice form right now. And the race set up pretty well for Grooms All Business that day. As you can see, they went fast, and Grooms All Business came from way out of it, was 8th of 10 early on in that race for closing for the victory. And then he came back in his next start and won to get serious over at Monmouth Park on June the 16th. So needed that race. It was his first start since last year. It was his first start in 6+ months. And now you feel like third start off the bench, third start of the form cycle. Torch likes to win races. He doesn't need the lead either. He can sit off. There just really isn't that much other proven early speed. Wouldn't be shocked to see a couple others like the 6 Bourbon Music. He's quick. He just doesn't have turf form that we know of. So question mark there. Charging can also show a little speed, as can the horse from the rail, Heaven Street. I do think the 7 is the fastest of them. And like we've seen a lot of the in these races where Heaven Street maybe shows speed going longer, not as much when going shorter. And we're not consistently getting it from Charging every single time anymore. Still very quick. And then from the 6 Bourbon Music, we have to just see if he takes to the surface. I feel like the 7 is going to run really well in here. Boats a Rockin'. Others to include, if you're playing any multi-exotics, the 3 Son of a Birch is just sharp right now. He's looking for his 3rd in a row. Look at his last 6-7 races. I mean, you can excuse the race on the yielding turf in May of 2023. Everything else is really good. Everything sprinting since then is really good. Pretty tough to knock. He finished. So the most recent race, when he wins, top 2 in that race were well clear of the 3rd place finisher, 4.5 clear. 3rd place finisher that came back to win next time out. Wouldn't be shocked to see the Thin White Duke run well in here, but he just doesn't have, from a class standpoint, I think he fits. From a race shape standpoint, I'm not expecting there to be as much early speed. Now, if a couple of the other horses that we mentioned can all go and it's a contentious early pace, then this will set up better for the Thin White Duke. He fits at the level with this group. He's actually chased lone speed winners in his last 3 races. So he just hasn't gotten the type of race he needs to come running. If you feel like this race will go quick early, or if you're just using a few in here, sometimes it's nice to have a horse that might, you have one of the horses that you think is, the best of the front runners, and then maybe you have one of the horses that you think is the better of the closers. Some people will play that way. I don't necessarily have a template of how I play, but if you want to have things well measured, just in case, sometimes if it's a race that you think is wide open, you don't have the strongest opinion in the world, it's nice to know that if they were to go quick, this horse will be making his third start off the bench. He could come running with a really nice effort. Thin White Duke, not really any knocks on Outlaw Kid, who's been a runner-up in back-to-back efforts, now puts 2 starts back off the short little break, makes the 3rd start of the year. He's one who needs a little bit of pace. He's not quite as pace-dependent, but he's not, most likely he won't be on the lead or right there. He'll probably be more mid-pack. And then I didn't really know what to do with the horses towards the outside, like Big Invasion, who's just not in great form right now. But he's been behind a very nice horse in his last 2 in Cogburn. He was behind Coppola prior to that. This horse was your runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, only beaten a neck in his better races win this. He hasn't had one of those recently, and he'll get bet. The horse to the outside, even Cloudy, 2nd star back. Wouldn't be shocked to see this one run a little bit better cutting back. I put the 7, Boats a Rockin' on the top spot. I thought the 3 and the 4 were both interesting as well. Outlaw Kid, who's in nice form. The 3, Son of a Birch, could sit a good trip. Steps up, faces a little bit tougher here after back-to-back victories over at Monmouth and Fairgrounds prior to that. So look at race number 6. Moving to the 7th, so we go from a turf sprint to a turf route, going 1 mile and 3/8. Again, not all that much early speed, right? Going through the field. Be Like Clint's not really fast. Indian Quest, stretching out from mile races. Maybe they'll try to get a little aggressive with him. Scat to Tap. Not recently been showing as much of the tactical speed as they used to show early. Hold the Salsa, no. Going Concerned, stretching out with the blinkers coming on. Maybe they'll try to get aggressive, coming out of some quicker races early where they went, pretty quick to the first quarters. And then you got Breeze. I think might be a little bit better than his overall form looks. Started to wake up in November when really the race back in September at Kentucky was not that bad. He had a bad start, and he actually ran decent that day. Off a couple months, shows back up in November. Finishes 5th, only beaten a length that day in a race behind Champagne Juan. So you see 3 of those races that he's in with Champagne Juan, who came over here and nearly won the Belmont Gold Cup, had the lead, and just got nailed by the Gray Wizard that day. So from a class standpoint, the races where he's right there with Champagne Juan would stack up very well in here. And there's not much early speed at all. I think the plan has to be to just get aggressive with this guy. From the outside, try to put him on the lead. I think you want to use Breeze in some of your late exotics just in case this horse can get out front and get brave. The 1 Going Concern with the blinkers coming on could sit a pretty good trip. I think you just eliminate that last race as the blinkers coming on give him a little more focus. And the 5th and 7th place finishers came back to win first level allowance races from that April 26th race. So far it's come back a live race. When you're playing or when you're looking at the DRF past performances, you can just click on the chart and see. It'll show you the italics, and you can click and see the races for the Duke and then for Ruse. So I had 7 and 1 as my top in here. And then others, if you were going a little bit deeper, the 6th makes sense. I just didn't really find very many. I didn't think the trouble was maybe as bad as the running line or the comment line might suggest. Blinkers coming off, and this horse will get bet. I mean, he would not be a shock in here. he's going to be pretty short price, I think. And the 2, who you feel like you're confident that he'll come running, but might be a little bit tougher than where he can win this level. He's 0 for 8 on the grass, but he's very consistent. 7-1 on top for me, depending on what you want to do with horses like the 6 and the 2, if you want to go any deeper in those exotics. Race number 8 is the grade 3 Victory Ride. In here, I think the 3, Emery, who's your morning line favorite. Oh, where do we go there? Yeah, the 3, Emery, who's 6-5 on the morning line, I think will be pretty tough. It's no knocks on her. She's won 3 of her 4. Her only loss came to Just FYI, and then Just FYI came out of that race to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Emery will now make the 3rd start of her form cycle. She just kept wide last time out, just a couple lengths off the pace, and was in hand and visually really impressive. The 3 is the one to beat. The 4, Helena's Forte. You can go through her form overall, eliminate the Ashland, and just say she didn't want to go long. And you can make an excuse for her in the 8 bells on a sloppy track that day. Everything else is really good. Comes back on May the 31st at Churchill. Going 6 furlong, sits off the pace a little bit. So I thought those were your top 2. The key to the race is what happens between the 1 and the 2. Mystic Lake and Golden Degree, which on paper, they look like they'll have to battle in here. If one of the 2 does not take back, even if so, I don't think the 3 and the 4 have to be so far out of it where they can't be keeping 1 or 2 in striking range if either of those were to separate. If Mystic Lake gets clear, I don't think Emery will be that far out of it, or Alina's Forte. These are nice fillies who can sit pretty close. So I just think those are the 2 best in here, Emery and Alina's Forte. Curious how they play this race from a wagering standpoint. Maybe we can get a little bit of value on the 4. Let's get to the 9th and final on Thursday, 4th of July. Mile and a 16th on the turf for New York bred, maiden 40 claimers, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. Thought the 5 tongue twister could be forwardly placed in here. 2 sprints to a route, stretching out. There's just not much early speed again in this type of a race. So 3 of our 4 races today in the pick 4 didn't seem like there's that much early speed. And then the other one in the shorter field looked like there's a couple pretty quick horses. Ones that are on my radar: 5 for sure, 8 Devil's Arrow. The blinkers come on. She wasn't too far out of it. Kind of like a merry-go-round race early on. Blinks on for the drop and the move to the turf. She got some action in the debut. The 3, the Splendid One, moves back to the grass. She's not the type of horse I normally play, but her grass races were all against better. And then she dropped in against maiden claimers on the dirt. Now she'll actually get back to the turf, where she's just been better, like way better overall. And the 10, I thought was an interesting price because the debut race, Saving Memories, was actually forwardly placed sprinting. Then came back in the second start. Again, was not far out of it early on, going a little bit longer. Think you can just eliminate the May 4th race on the turf that day. Just put a line right through it. Didn't have a good start and then just never got involved. But with the drop in class, with the outside draw, I wouldn't be shocked to see this one forwardly placed in here, and there's not all that much speed. That's why I threw her in as a possible long shot who can outrun her odds, maybe just sitting close. There's a look at the late pick 4 sequence, races 6 through 9 at Belmont at the Big A on Thursday, July the 4th. Best of luck playing the races on Thursday. Don't forget about that big 4th of July sale. It will run all the way through Monday, so plenty of time to purchase and save money on past performances, clocker reports, and all of your favorite Daily Racing Form products. Good luck this week. We'll have a lot of coverage for you, a lot of free analysis on the YouTube channel for That's What G Said, or anywhere you get that podcast. Download That's What G Said podcast. Best of luck on Thursday at Belmont Park.